Welcome back, y'all, to the Move Podcast 105th edition of the Tour de Flanders. Of Flanders. You gave me a hard time yesterday.
Tour of Flanders, yeah.
De Flanders. But we're here in a very unique format for the Move. We're missing our boss, Lance Armstrong. He didn't make it to Belgium. We had a special guest who was coming, Johan Museo, the Lion of Flanders, who unfortunately had car trouble and didn't make it. So you know what? It's just Johan Bruneel and I talking about the Tour of Flanders. But honestly, I don't mind because this race was so exciting that I'm really excited to break this race down with you guys, talk about everything that happened. For me, it was one of the most exciting races that I've watched thus far this season.
Definitely.
And Johan, I think we're going to have a good time talking about this.
Yeah, and especially also very happy that for the first time in the existence of the Move, and we do our first time that we're present at such a big event. It was an amazing experience for us, for our guests, for the Move and the We Do staff. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Now, before we get into the analysis and depth of the race, we have a few messages from our sponsors.
I hope you're enjoying the show live from Flanders. I'm just going to jump in here for a second and tell you about some of our partners that make all this possible. If you've been watching on socials from Flanders, we have a whole team over there getting great coverage. George and Johan crushing it. Our whole social media team, photography, everything, just absolutely crushing it. And it's because our sponsors help with all this. And so we just want to share with you some opportunities to get involved with them. First is a product that I've been using for a couple of years now, fell in love with it, Element. I mean, when I think about some of the old sugary drinks that I used to down in the heat when I'm on the bike, it's just mind blowing of how bad it was. And it got turned on to Element, and I absolutely love it. It is better for hydration because of the sodium, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, especially in the Texas heat, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. There's no sugar, no gluten, no artificial ingredients, no BS. And best of all, if you don't like it, you can give it to a friend and Element will refund you. And also give you a free gift with purchase. Our listeners can get a free Element sample pack. Try all the flavors with any order. And you can order at drinklmnt.com/themove. Today's show also brought to you by our partners at Manscaped. They've been telling you for quite a while about how to take care of everything below the waist. Now they've put together a great product for above the waist care. All right. Do you rock the beard? Do you want to take care of that? Now you can. And if you watch the first few seasons of The Move, I used to rock a beard. I might bring it back now, especially that I have this product. And I was never happy with any kind of beard trimmer I ever had. So I just got this pack. It's enticing me to bring back the beard, but it's the brand new Weed Whacker 2.0. And it's really, really slick. It comes with a whole kit that's just so well put. I like good packaging when I get stuff. It includes the beard shampoo and conditioner, beard oil, and beard balm. All right. And the trimmer is cordless, waterproof, and it has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 different hair cutting lengths. I always kept mine real short, but maybe you like to get a lot longer. You have a lot of those options. So 20% off and free shipping for all of our listeners. Just use our code, THEMOVE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Use our code, THEMOVE. And last for the moment here, Athletic Greens. It's funny, again, another product that I got hip to because of the show. And now everyone I know around Austin is using Athletic Greens. I turned my wife onto it, and she puts some Athletic Greens in a shaker as she heads out the door every morning on her way to work, drinks it. It's like part of her routine. And I started using it, and it just really helped with gut health. Both my wife and I agree that, like, if you ever just feel like your gut's just out of whack, it helps get that all in balance, because there are 75, you heard me right, 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics. That's what really helps with the gut health, and adaptogens. Okay. So definitely try this. You'll get hooked just like my wife and I have, and everyone else we know. Just go to athleticgreens.com/themove. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/themove, and take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, now let's go back to Flanders and enjoy the show.
Okay, George. So let's start with what happened this morning. So we were here. We went early to the start. I mean, I think it's safe to say that this is such a unique race that, I mean, even if you don't see the race and you just have the start experience, it is incredible. I mean, the energy that was there, the vibe, the people, incredible, right?
It really is. You know, I've done this race 17 times, and you know, lining up as a rider, you have this mindset where you're going, "Oh man, I'm about to risk my life. This is a race that I dream about winning. I will do anything it takes to win it. I will jump on any sidewalk. I will dodge any spectator. I will risk any crash in order to stay in the front." So I felt what the riders were feeling.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. Thank you, Johan, for setting this up. First time ever. I had a press pass on. So did Johan. First time we were on the other side of the fence, so to speak, in an actual event of this magnitude.
Yeah. And for the people who watched our socials, you know, we were literally at the start line on the yellow carpet where the start line was. Even chatting with the riders, with Greg Van Avermaet.
I got to hug it out with Greg Van Avermaet. Got to speak briefly with Nielsen Paulus, who ended up getting 5th place. Just saw a lot of our friends that we grew up riding with that are still in the peloton. But Johan kind of alluded to this special format that we're at here in Belgium. We just launched a new facet of We Do.
Exactly.
The Move.
We do travel.
We do travel. So we had 5 or 6 guests with us that were able to ride the Sportif with us yesterday. They were able to do all the sections 4 or 5 sections with us, go to the VIP at the finish, VIP at the start. And just really, it was really fun to share that experience with them because they had no idea. You have to come to the Tour of Flanders. If you like cycling and you think you know cycling, you have no idea unless you come to the Tour of Flanders.
Yeah. I mean, it is something. It is a special race. And, you know, I think it's a testimonial to what cycling means in Belgium, more particularly in Flanders. I mean, I think it's safe to say that cycling is a religion here. Some say that was 1 million people on the road.
85% of the country. That's what they say.
No, I mean, we only have 10 million people in Belgium. This is only Flanders. This is only Flanders. This is only Flanders, and but you know, 1 million people on those roads. That's just unbelievable. And I mean, just the amount of people that were here in Bruges was already incredible. But it was really on the whole course, and so we got to experience this start, this vibe. Our guests were super excited. My son Christian, 13 years old, he was here. He is super, super ecstatic. And, we had to start, and then we went to some viewing points. And in the car, on the way to our first viewing point, I think we should start with that, George, to talk about the race. We had the first important event of the race, which was, first of all, super fast start. Windy. The break didn't go anywhere. It took 80 kilometers for the breakaway to establish a small breakaway. But the most important was that one of the big favorites, we have Pogacar, we have Van Aert, and we have Van der Poel. Those 3.
The big 3.
And one of the 3, Mathieu Van der Poel, 2-time winner of this race, got caught out, napping in the back. And all of a sudden there was a split. There was 30, 40 riders in the back, and Mathieu Van der Poel was one of them. Of course, the other teams didn't have to listen twice to that news, and they went full gas. And it was an amazing pursuit, 20 kilometers of pursuit of Van der Poel and 2 of his teammates against the peloton. And I think that was very important. Finally, he made it back, but I think it had an impact on the final outcome of the race.
Well, I 1,000% agree with you. I want to go back to the start and our VIPs and our We Do Travel and how we ended up getting here.
Okay.
3 weeks ago or a month ago, I travel a bunch. Johan travels a bunch. We all travel a bunch. Liz, our, what is she, her head of creative now or something? I don't know what she is, but she put together this idea to do an on-site Tour of Flanders trip where we talk about the race, Johan and I, and a special guest, which didn't end up happening, but we also invite some guests to come out. And it was a big pitch. Honestly, and admittedly, I was not very interested at first, and I kind of was a little bit reluctant to come, but I ended up agreeing to come. And what ended up happening,
George,
we got all these amazing.
You have to tell.
Yeah,
I made you. I made you.
Johan said, "George, you are coming to Flanders." Basically, that's what happened. I was reluctant. I wasn't sure about it. Liz, head of creative, who just walked in, she was very pushy about it as well. I finally ended up agreeing. But you know what? We also had some amazing partners that ended up backing us to come out here and do it. And I want to talk about them, not even talk about them, we'll mention them because we're doing a Flanders giveaway. You will get all kinds of free products for not only listening to the show, but following us and supporting us. So we appreciate y'all.
Mention George, today is the last day to sign up.
Today is the last day to sign up for this giveaway. So fortunately, we are almost at the end of the day in Europe, but you have another 6 or 7 hours in the United States. But I want to thank Ventum NS1, which is the bike that I ride and that I particularly loved riding it on the cobblestones. I was incredibly impressed. If you haven't followed our socials, check it out. I mean, the bike handled like a cream puff. I always say the things that I like, I call them cream puffs. And we want to talk about Roca sunglasses, which are the glasses that I wore all week. Love them, casual reading and riding glasses. You will see them on my socials, LMNT, the drink of my choice, whether it's hot or cold or traveling on an airplane or needing to hydrate. Never miss out on that. Fidlock, my water bottles. Everybody, even you asked, are those bottles going to stay on the cobbles? Fidlock, I mean, they're impressive. Magnet bottles, and I love them. They're super intuitive. You grab the bottle, twist it off the magnet, put them back in. It's awesome. I love it. Manscaped, they got some pictures of me shaving the beard, trimming the beard. This is a really cool product. I love it. Don't travel anywhere without it. The feed, all the snacks that I had on the bike. I didn't have breakfast. I overslept. My alarm did not happen to ring at 7 a.m. Johan called me at 7:20. We're supposed to leave at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I go, Johan, why are you calling me at 2 in the morning? He goes, it's 7:20. You're late. Okay. So what did I do? No breakfast, 1 coffee, 5.5 hour bike ride on Saturday. But I had all the feed products in my pocket and I was fine. Huckberry, all this cool clothing that I've been wearing the whole weekend. Love it. Don't go anywhere without it. MTE, Focus energy drink that was very much needed with jet lag. You wake up, you don't know where you are, you have no energy. Pop an MTE, which now I don't know what I'm going to do if I ever am not with it because the thing got me through the whole weekend with jet lag, staying up late with the team. I'm a jack of all trades. They make me edit photos. They make me do all this stuff, plan stuff. So I need the MTE to keep me going. And Monkush for the pain. I had back issues. Christian had issues. We used the Monkush. It got us through 5.5 hours on the bike with zero pain. So thank you guys. We love you.
Thank you very much.
Go back to the race.
Okay. So back to what happened at the beginning. We had this incident with Mathieu van der Poel getting caught out. And
I was shocked. I was blown away.
It was, I mean, stuff like that cannot happen.
No, because we were leaving the start line. And the first thing I said to Johan, I go, Johan, look at this wind. Mm-hmm. The wind is just, the flags are just going full gas. As a favorite of the race, one, you want to be super chill in the start, in the first 50 kilometers. You don't want to be bothered by anybody. You want to do any accelerations. You want to stay out of trouble. You want to stay out of crashes. So arguably, yes, the back could be a safe place. But what happens? The back is also very susceptible to splits.
Whatever happens,
to get caught behind people.
Crash,
what did we see? What did we see happen?
Exactly. I mean, first of all, Van der Poel got caught in that acceleration. He only had 1 or 2 teammates with him, and it took them 20 kilometers of a lot of effort, but also a lot of stress. And I think personally that the fact that he had to sacrifice Søren Kragh Andersen in
that was the chase, biggest for me. That was the biggest deal.
He needed him in the end, and that could have made the difference.
I'm thinking, if I'm a rider and I'm Søren Kragh Andersen, who's won one stage of the Tour de France, mm-hmm. I'm on unbelievable form. I'm picked by many of the outsiders of the sport to maybe win today, mm-hmm. and then all of a sudden I'm in the front chasing down a split in the peloton because my leader just wanted to hang out the back. Right away, my mind is done. I'm pissed off. My motivation's gone. I'll do it, but I'm done for the rest of the day.
You could also argue, George, that for this situation, why, if they have Mathieu van der Poel, who is, their leader in those kind of races, why did they not make straight away the call to have the whole team pull back and with the whole team chase it down straight away.
1,000%.
Yeah.
If that thing is 5 seconds, 10 seconds, I know you would have been instantly, you have to stop right now and bring him back before this becomes a 20-second gap.
Exactly.
100% agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, then we got back. Van der Poel finally got back. There was a breakaway. We had a few crashes, a few really bad crashes. One of them, this rider from Bahrain who was on the bike path. Then all of a sudden, there was no more bike path. He had to go back on the road. He took out the half of the peloton.
I think we need to let's settle on that for a minute.
Very unfortunate incident.
Got disqualified.
He got disqualified.
Which we had a little disagreement over dinner.
Yeah.
Johan said he does not agree with the disqualification.
I do not agree. Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to say I have to agree with you because this happens. And at dinner, I didn't agree with it, but I would think about it more. This happens 1,000 times throughout the day. What makes this race and races like Paris-Roubaix, any race in Belgium for that matter, so special is that the road is your playground, but everything else is open as well. If you find a gap on a sidewalk or a bike path or a piece of grass where you can move up, you're going to take it. Most times you're going to take it. We've taken it. I've taken it. You've taken it many times because it's all about staying in the front, going with the breakaways, keeping your lead in the front. You're going to do whatever it takes to stay in the front. This poor fella was on the bike path, and the bike path just happened to stop on him.
All of a sudden, there was no more road. There was
on the
grass and water. So, unfortunately, it took out some really
important riders.
Everybody who crashes, it's important, right? And it's bad. But it took out Alaphilippe, it took out Sagan, it took out
Tim Wellens.
I personally think that the disqualification is not justified because, first of all, there was absolutely no intention at all of this guy to make them crash. But if you look at the rules, right, it is forbidden to ride on the bike path, right? In these kind of races, I think a judge or a commissaire needs to be able to interpret the situation. And I think you can only make it forbidden to ride on the bike path if there's a fence. Because 100%. if you have 2 lanes and then you have 2 bike paths on the side, you get pushed off those 2 lanes all the time. So this poor guy got pushed off. He found himself in the situation he wanted to get back on. There was no, he went through where there was no more road, and unfortunately, he was completely in the front and went to the right.
Perfect example. And there is there isn't a set way to do this. Some races that go up to Patersburg, the gutters are open. And what do the riders do? They ride on the gutters. Tour of Flanders, there's barricades on the gutters.
Exactly,
on the gutters. And the riders will ride in the middle because they have to. But if the gutters are open, they're going to ride it. You go into survival mode in these situations.
You find wherever it's easiest to go. Anyway, the disqualification, it's a minor incident. But I think it's important to point out that, when they apply the rules, they have to be consistent.
Yeah.
And I personally think that a sanction or, a punishment like a disqualification can never be dependent on the outcome. It needs to be dependent on the breaking of the rule, independently of what's the outcome. Whether, if you do something wrong, you do something wrong, and there's a punishment for that. And whether there's a crash or no crash should not matter.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's often the case. Even in sprints where somebody is disqualified when they change their trajectory and there's a crash.
That's a great point.
It happens all the time. When there's no crash, there's no DQ, and when there's a crash, they disqualify. Anyways,
So what happened with this crash was it was almost 100 kilometers. The first 50 kilometers were done in 1 hour, so 50 kilometers an hour average. And then another 30 to 40 to 50K before the breakaway actually went away and it slid away. It didn't have much time. This crash happened, which sort of neutralized the peloton. They slow down, make sure all of their leaders are good. Things are a bit chaotic. The breakaway now gets a sort of a significant
3-4 minutes.
3-4 minutes. And that's a 9-rider or 8-9-rider breakaway. That's a significant, the breakaway of the Tour of Flanders, which happens after 100 kilometers, which is very, very rare.
It was clear from that moment on that, they get so close already to the hilly zone that they were not going to get a bunch of time.
And let's explain why. Because when you get too close to the hilly zone or the first cobblestone section, it doesn't matter if the peloton wants to chase or not. They're going to go faster because they have to fight for position. When you fight for position, the speed gets faster and faster and faster and faster.
The stress levels higher. The stress just speeds it up, and at some point, when normally the cruise speed of the peloton is 40k an hour, all of a sudden becomes 50k an hour.
Agreed.
You have all these teams. It's not even lined up, but you have the whole peloton just going faster and faster at 50k an hour, and automatically the advantage of the breakaway shrinks.
Yes.
But then I think we get to the really one of the key points of the race is when the Molenberg where Casper Asgreen.
Yes.
Nobody expected him. He's been a bit invisible. Soudal Quickstep, they've been quite invisible. I mean, not invisible, but they've not been present really as the dominating factor we've known in the past. And Casper Asgreen does a great attack and takes with him some really, really interesting and strong riders. Asgreen, ex-winner of the Tour of Flanders. You have Mats Pedersen. You have Matteo Trentin. You have Nathan van Hooijdonk. Nelson Paulus. Mathieu Jorgensen. So, I mean, really,
2 Americans in the breakaway of the Tour of Flanders. Yeah. You understand how excited I was to see that? I mean, 2 Americans. Y'all don't understand. If you grow up in America, you technically should not be good at these races because there is nothing like this in America at all. So to see Nielsen, which we got to talk to in the morning a bit, and to see Mathieu up in there in the breakaway, a legit breakaway, not a panic breakaway.
No. I mean,
a breakaway that went on the Molenberg, a very tough section, a section that people fight very hard to be in the front. In the main breakaway of the day, that made my day.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this breakaway, if you see the composition, there was Nathan van Hooijdonk, who is Jumbo-Visma, so teammate of one of the favorites, Wout Van Aert. Matteo Trentin, teammate of Tadej Pogacar, and normally, without that incident from earlier on in the race, a guy like Søren Kragh Andersen would have probably been there.
Would have been there, yes.
Now, Mathieu didn't have any teammate in there, so that actually compromised the chances of the breakaway. But I think quite early we talked about it. We said, you know what? Some of these guys are going to make it to the final, and some of them, or one of them, can be on the podium.
Yeah, let's talk about the composition of this breakaway when it's happening over the Molenberg. As a rider, you either know you have to go, you cannot go, or you just don't want to go. There's 3 different things that are going on there. But as a director, you go up there, and it's all of a sudden like a chess match. Like, do I have somebody in there? Who's in there? How is he going to help my main guy at the end of the day? So there's a lot going on in the cars at the top of the Molenberg. Talk about, what are you thinking about?
I mean,
something like that?
First of all, if you look at the composition, right, you have Asgreen in there, who is the co-leader of Alaphilippe and Asgreen, where both Alaphilippe crashed already. So he is the leader of Soudal Quickstep. So great for them.
Tim Merlier as well.
Tim Merlier was in the earlier breakaway with the 6 guys. So they had 2 guys. Then you have Mats Pedersen, who is the leader of him and Jasper Stuyven, are the leaders of Trek Segafredo. And then you have a guy like Trentin, who is an experienced rider, but he's not the leader of his team. You have Nathan van Hooijdonk, really good rider, not the leader of his team. Nelson Paulus, probably the leader of his team, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So there's this thinking in the team cars. Okay, what does this do for me? Obviously, for Soudal Quickstep, it was great. For Trek Segafredo, great. Pedersen in front, and then the other teams start to ask themselves: okay, Trentin, is he good enough to stay with these number ones of the other teams?
Yeah.
Is Van Hooijdonk good enough? So let's say both UAE and Jumbo-Visma, they were fine. They were represented, but it's not really a great situation because they have no guarantees at all that they can be in the final compared to these other guys who were in theory bigger engines. So that made the situation that they were fine with the breakaway, but they kind of kept it within the limits. At certain moments of the race, we could see them chase. We
saw UAE at the bottom of the Quermont.
Put them in position. So that's also the reason why this strong breakaway didn't get a bigger advantage. I mean, I personally thought that at some point they had 3 minutes. I said, hey, that's already a lot, for strong riders like that.
That's a legit breakaway. And like we talked about on La Movida, which if you're Spanish speaking, you should watch it. We broke down, why are these guys like the former winner of the Tour of Flanders, Guys like Mads Pedersen, who's won stage of the Tour de France.
Was second in the Tour of Flanders.
Second in the Tour of Flanders. Why are they going with almost 100 kilometers ago, 80 kilometers ago? Arguably very early. What do they want to do? They want to get ahead of the big three. Van Aert, Van der Poel, and Pogacar. Because they know when those three guys go with 30, 40 can go, nobody can follow. So what do? You got to go early. You got to risk your whole race to get a gap on them to be able to hope that you get caught after the super, super hardest section of the race, which is exactly what they did.
Exactly. And then, that breakaway worked well together, all of them. And finally, what did we see? We came to finally to the Koppenberg, which is, in the final of the race with about 45 kilometers to go. And there we saw the big three accelerate. Guess what? Nobody else could follow. So the race was basically decided. The guys who were up front.
It was the Kwaremont, actually.
No. On the Koppenberg, the three riders, the three strong guys went.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, on the Kwaremont,
correct. Yeah.
What's his name? Pogacar accelerated. So those were the two big moves. If you know that you can't follow, you're trying to be ahead and enough ahead, and work not very much, so you can keep some energy for when finally the three or two of the three are going to come, and that's ultimately what happened in the final of the race.
I hope you're enjoying the Move podcast live from Flanders. George and Johan are just absolutely crushing it over there. And you probably noticed that George is rocking the Ventum. Also Courtney, who does all her socials, on her cool looking, it's like I don't want to call it pink. It's like this mauvey purple Ventum. It just looks killer. I've been riding the NS1 for about a year now, and it's a matte blue finish. I just call it We Do Blue. And I get compliments on it all the time. Absolutely great bike if you're looking for a new rig. But today is the last day, hopefully you're watching this right after Flanders, April 2nd, to enter our Ventum giveaway. All right, you could be rocking a brand new Ventum and enjoying it like we all are. All right, Lance has been riding it for a number of years. George is now on it. Courtney's on it. I'm on it. It's just such great bikes. And they do have the new GS1 too, their new gravel bike they just released. It's worth checking out. And you can get 10% off when you use the code WEDO when you're checking out at ventumracing.com/themove. One more for you. Again, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. HVMN. All right. Lance and George are much more well-versed at explaining all the performance benefits of taking ketones from HVMN. I met Michael from HVMN when he was in Aspen this last summer. We started talking about it, and he started telling me about all the mental health benefits it has. It helps with clarity and brain function. That's what I needed. And so I started, I'd say 3 months ago. I take a little shot of it in the morning and a shot later in the day. And I kid you not, I think it has absolutely helped with my mental clarity throughout the day. It really is a remarkable product with science to back it up. Go to hvmn.com and use the promo code THEMOVE. Okay, you just use that, the move at checkout, and you will save 20%. Again, that is hvmn.com. And the promo code is the move. Now let's go back to Johan and George in Flanders.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think even you and I expected Pogacar to. Well, you did. You predicted on outcomes, so I need to take that statement back. You said Pogacar was going to go solo on outcomes. I did not ever see that. I did not envision Van der Poel being 40 seconds behind in the first 20 kilometers, which I truly believe was one match gone. Second match for Van der Poel was on the Tegenberg when I think his front chain ring came off, or he had a shift in gearing. Yeah. Lost like 50 meters. These are small things on TV, but trust me, these are matches that are burned in a 270 kilometer race where every single bit of energy counts.
And especially already with more than 200 kilometers in the legs.
So he's all of a sudden bringing it back up to the other two guys, Van Aert and Pogacar. So I believe without those two incidents, he might have been a bit closer to Pogacar.
Yeah. And then also what we didn't expect is that Wout Van Aert, who was basically the big favorite right after his victory in Waregem, in E3, and his amazing demonstration in Gent-Wevelgem. He didn't have anything that went wrong in the beginning of the race, but yet, for some reason, all of a sudden, unexpectedly, I would say, Van der Poel, as he does sometimes, nobody expects it, he attacked not on the Koppenberg, not on the Kwaremont, he attacked on the Kruisberg. And only Pogacar could come back, and there we could see Wout Van Aert having some trouble and never made it back.
These guys have grown up racing bikes together. I mean, we have pictures of them when they were juniors doing the cyclocross world championships together, junior, like all kinds of junior. I'm sure that they know each other like brothers and sisters. Things. They see little things.
Exactly.
Even though I didn't see Van Aert suffering, I guarantee you,
they know each other.
Van der Poel was like, he is not at his best.
Exactly.
And I need to get rid of him now because he might be able to beat me in the sprint.
They know each other so well. That's true, actually. They know each other so well that little details, maybe his head tilted a little bit too much or whatever. Stuff we don't know. Van der Poel, when he went on the Kruisberg, he went for a reason. He had seen that Van Aert was... And even, when they take pulls amongst the three of them, you can feel like, okay, I'm strong. This guy comes through with enough power. And the other guy,
Well, you saw it. You saw it the first time or second time with the Kwaremont when Pogacar went. And Van der Poel and Van Aert were just behind. I'm convinced if they had the legs, they would not have let him go. Yes, they brought him back. And afterwards, everything was under control. But they would have gone with him had they had the legs, and they didn't have the legs. So right there, they're both getting a feel of what's happening. Pogacar we ran into Mauro Giannetti, the GM of UAE this morning, and even he said, this guy, we can't control him. He wants to win every race he enters. Any race that he enters, he wants to win. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be a small race in Spain. It could be the Tour de France. It could be the Tour of Flanders. And you know what? The guy actually delivers.
And also the fact that he did state in an interview that this year, I guess it's probably after he felt last year in his first participation in Tour of Flanders that he was the strongest guy in the race. Mathieu van der Poel won. Pogacar finally finished fourth, but he was the strongest rider in the race. He had Van der Poel on the ropes. That, knowing the race, knowing how he has to race, and probably being in better shape than last year, the whole season already, he was convinced that he had a big chance. And he made it public. He said, I would prefer to win the Tour of Flanders than another Tour de France, which is crazy. But, at the same time, it makes sense because...
Well, if you're a hard man and you're a biker's, a pro cyclist, yes, the Tour de France is the biggest thing you do. But if you know how hard the Tour de Flanders is, you kind of want to win that. For somebody like Pogacar who wants to win everything, this is the ultimate race for him to win. Although apparently he might want to do Roubaix at some point, which will be interesting. But let's now focus on Flanders.
George, there's absolutely no reason to say that Pogacar would be. Listen, look at the stage on the cobblestones in the Tour de France last year. He was the best rider in the race, given it's different riders. But he was flying on the cobblestones.
He floats over the cobblestones. It's like unlike anything I've ever seen.
Which is actually, something that, first of all, Pogacar winning the Tour of Flanders makes him the third only rider in history to be a winner of the Tour de France and win the Tour of Flanders. Those are
let's name them.
Completely different
Who are the
athletes.
Other ones?
So obviously Eddy Merckx. He won the Tour of Flanders multiple times. I think twice or three times. I think twice. Obviously 5 times the Tour. And then we have Louison Bobet, which was in...
I would never guess that.
In 1955.
Wow.
1955, won the Tour of Flanders, and he had won already the Tour de France. But it is basically, and especially nowadays also, because cycling is more and more. When Eddy Merckx won, both these guys, they did all the races. They won, and you had several guys winning Grand Tours and big classics. But
that's what we have now.
We are coming back to that.
We're coming back to that.
It was so specific. Actually, you could say it's two different sports. It's definitely two different disciplines of cycling, Grand Tours and Tour of Flanders, Paris-Roubaix. This guy is able to do it. I think it's historic, what he did.
So the question for you is, as a director, and we're coming in, yes, he won one of the biggest one-day races in the entire pro cycling calendar. As a director, you're like, let's go Tour de France. Now we're the main favorites. Or you're like, ooh, maybe my guy is too good right now.
Well,
what do you think?
I think it doesn't matter what I think. Okay. Cycling has changed. These guys nowadays, they either race. When they race to win. They don't race a lot, but they race to win. And when they don't race, they train and prepare. It's either racing on the top level or altitude camps.
Yeah.
Right. That's the way cycling is right now. So there's no reason to believe that Pogacar will not be at the top of his game in July.
And these guys don't rest on their laurels at all. Like,
no.
I spoke to Mathieu Jorgensen a bit, and we texted back and forth, and I was like, amazing race. You made the breakaway, Tour of Flanders. I think first time Tour of Flanders, he's in the winning move. And
both Americans,
like,
first time Tour of Flanders.
And he's like, yeah, great. I'm got a couple of days off, and I'm going to altitude to train, get ready for the Tour. I mean, It's like they're full gas, like always going. I mean, it's a different sport.
No, it is. And that's, I mean, it's actually a pity. I mean, it's obviously, I think we're witnessing these, like guys who are really a level above everybody else. I think we need to add Remco Evenepoel and Primož Roglic, for example, to that, because we can see also when they go head to head, they are a level above everybody else. But it's such a shame for those other guys who are just below, who are so incredibly good. They are beating all the records of all the climbs of 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But yet, it's so difficult to win a race. But I think that,
that's why we're seeing these
for the two Americans. I mean, to do what they did. First of all, I mean, to be in that breakaway, you have to be really strong, because those were no panic.
Yeah, no panic breakaway.
And then at the end, they were both there. They were both there, fighting it out for a podium spot.
Yeah,
it's not like being in the breakaway and then once you're caught, okay, you sit up. No, they were there until the finish line.
Yeah, and what did we see today? The fastest Tour of Flanders ever on history.
45 kilometers per hour, I think.
45 kilometers an hour for 270 kilometers. I mean, that is insane. Why is it so fast? Because these guys are all so good. The Pogacars, the Van Aerts, the Van der Poels are so good that the only way they can be beaten is by beating them before they go. Yeah. So what happens is the pace gets faster and faster, and they all are trying to anticipate the move of the big three. And it gives what happens is these average speeds are going up.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at the numbers, right? The first hour, 50 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
Then obviously it slows down a bit, but they cannot have slowed down a lot.
No.
Because to be ending 270 kilometers with 45 average, it was on the whole day. There was no time. Normally,
I think at 50 kilometers or 60 kilometers, They told us that they were 15 minutes ahead of the fastest expected time. 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so try to set a PR or do whatever you want, and then go out the next day and go 15 minutes faster. See how hard that is.
No, it was. I mean, listen. At the end of the day, I mean, I'm really, really happy that we came here and that we had TVs, we could follow the race, but to be once in a while, like, on the side, on the roadside, and really, get this reminder, of what it is. There was one point, George, when it was at the beginning of the race, they passed and we were standing there and at the fences, and the wind, which was not the wind it was the wind of the speed of the peloton, was so impressive. Like, and that was still with more than 200 kilometers to go.
Yeah, I mean, one of the main questions I asked from people I run into in Belgium was like, "Do you miss this?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. This is so hard and so dangerous and just like so different that no, I don't miss it at all. I appreciate it. I love watching it. I have so much respect for all the riders, but this is just, I mean, this is one of the hardest, if not, I think the hardest sports in the world.
I had this conversation.
Hardest race in the world, and you know what? To be at this level is just as hard as it gets. So I do not miss it, but I love watching it.
Yeah, but to come back on the final of the race, then finally Pogacar drops these guys the first time on the second to last time on the Quaremont. They make it back, Van Aert and Van der Poel, but from there on, I think basically in their mind they said, okay, we just have to try to hang on here. This guy is a level above us, so we will go with him, but. What's really, really impressive, George, for me is that a rider like Pogacar is able to drop these guys who are, Van der Poel and Van Aert are the best in the world in this kind of racing. And he drops them. He doesn't attack. He just goes to the front. His team was preparing the attack. No surprise factor at all. So both Van Aert and Van der Poel were on the wheel, and they knew he was going to go. Yeah. And he goes and he drops them. It's like, I mean, how good do you have to be?
Yeah.
And I mean, and then at the end, he dropped Van der Poel on the Quaremont, right? And then Van Aert was dropped already. Van der Poel gets dropped on the Quaremont. Then he goes full gas on the Paterberg, which, I mean, you've said it before, George. Once you get to the Paterberg, you say, okay, how do I get to the top without,
stopping?
So, I mean, I would have to check the times, but I think he went up pretty fast. And then those last 14 kilometers in time trial mode, a light guy against a powerhouse, Van der Poel.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, that I've done this race 17 times, and we rode the Sportif on Saturday. You get to the Quaremont, and that section between the Quaremont and the Paterberg is not easy. It's kind of up and down, windy, exposed, big downhill to the Paterberg. You get to, you're like, oh man, I got to get up to this. I got to the top. I call you. I go, Johan, should I wait for the guests? I'm happy waiting because I'm that tired. But you're like, no, we got to get to the finish. So I ended up going, but it's not an easy, like, for me, I'm still sort of a fit biker. 14 kilometers of flat riding. It was like, oh God, this is taking forever. I was tired. I was exhausted. So imagine you as a viewer doing that. Like, it's incomprehensible how strong these guys are.
Yeah.
He just, not only did he get to the top of the Koppenberg or the Patersberg super fast, but put time on Mathieu van der Poel, who's one of the strongest guys in the world, on the flat section. Never slowed down, never let up.
Just on those other 7 or 8 riders.
And on the other 7, 8 riders who were pace lining together.
Yeah.
Just the power of this guy is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nice to see the happiness on the guy's face after he won. I think said it all. He just wanted to win this bike race so much. I mean, and I can understand. He won the Tour twice. This is obviously a great goal for him. I mean, now after him winning the Tour and winning all these stages and being third in the Vuelta and Paris-Nice and Tirreno and winning this, it's like, okay, there is literally no bike race in the world that Pogacar cannot win.
Yeah, agreed.
You can win everything.
Yeah, so
right.
Your takeaway is that I agree. Pogacar was amazing today. I am extremely excited about the Americans today. I mean, 2 guys in the top 15, I believe, or so. I mean, Nathan Nielsen was 5th. Mathieu didn't sprint, but
I think he was 12th.
12th.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever happened. 2 Americans in the final breakaway of Tour of Flanders, one of the most technical.
And then 2 Americans who do the first Tour of Flanders.
2 Americans that do the first Tour of Flanders. 2 Americans that are great climbers that have won in San Sebastian. Mathieu won stages in UAE. I mean, these guys. This is
Tour of Oman.
I mean, these are some of the best hope we've seen in cycling, in American cycling in a long time.
But I think it actually speaks for the trend that's going on. I mean, as we're speaking now, so Paulus and Jorgensen, young riders, different type of rider actually, and in their first participation. So I think it shows how complete these guys are.
Yes, yeah.
And they can basically do everything. But I would like to come back a little bit, and we could finish with this. So we have Pogacar killing the race. I mean, really, no discussion. He was the best. And then you have, the 2 of the big favorites, Van der Poel and Van Aert. Van der Poel being second. And then for me, seeing the disappointment, I mean, I'm not going to say the disappointment, because he cannot be disappointed because he was beaten by somebody who was way stronger. But the anger, or like the frustration on Van der Poel's face when he crosses the finish line. You can say, okay, you're super tired, okay, but he was like, he could not accept.
And I can explain that.
And that's a guy that that guy's a winner.
Yeah, he's a winner.
He only can be happy with a win. He can never.
I truly believe in those short efforts. Mathieu or Van der Poel can stay with Pogacar, if not be better. We saw it in the Milan San Remo. I mean, he attacked those guys, fingers in the nose, 550 watts or something, 540 watts for 6 minutes on the Poggio. He can do it. I feel like today he made those small mistakes in the beginning.
Yeah.
Got caught behind the 8 ball in the first 50 kilometers, put his whole team on the front. Very stressful to come back thinking, oh my God, what happened? I'm in 40K into the Tour of Flanders and I'm dropped. Like a former winner. That just shouldn't happen. I can understand his frustration. It was a mistake, and then the gear shift issue.
George, it's everything. Like for example, imagine Van der Poel being in that situation after what was it, 40K to go or something? After 40K,
yeah.
And from that moment on till they caught back, it's the stress. he did not eat anything.
Probably
you
not.
know, like, no, that's when the other guys are in the bunch eating. Right. So that's all stuff that adds up,
and that's where all the other team directors like Van der Poel's in the back. You guys keep going.
Exactly.
Don't give him a free ride back to the peloton. So this is what makes this race so special. You never know what's going to happen. Crashes, splits in the wind. It's a 6-7 hour race. Everything counts. This is why I love this race so much.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And, you know, we had this amazing experience. I think, George, you know, what our project of, you know, coming to the race, first of all, as we do as a media company, is definitely, this is the first time, not the last time.
Yeah.
And I think it's safe to say that, you know, having guests with us at events is also something that, you know, we're obviously, you know, we love to do it. We love to share the excitement with our guests.
Yes.
So I want to take the opportunity a little bit also to talk about our next event.
Yes.
In the month of May, from 8th till 12th of May, we have another event of We Do Travel, which is in Provence. It's 4 days, 3.5 days of riding. George will be there. Lance will be there. I will be there. We have a special guest that will be there, who is very dear to us. And I think we still have a few spots available.
Yeah.
It's very limited space, but you can ask for information at travel@wedo.team. We do is WEDU.
The man speaks like 8 languages.
Yeah, sorry, and it's late, George. It's late, but yeah. So that's going to be our next.
We're going to ride Mont Ventoux.
We're going to ride Mont Ventoux, exactly. Yes. Mont Ventoux. So yeah, I'm excited to be there. It's going to
be a great event. That's the next time, I believe, that we're all together in person.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Provence camp,
We Do Provence
camp.
And then we have another one in Mallorca, but it's later.
And of course, don't miss out on the Roubaix podcast next week.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll be back there with both the Move and La Movida. Yes. And Outcomes the day before.
Yeah. Which he predicted today.
Do not miss Outcomes the day before.
You want to make a little paper? He got it today.
Because I got the first and second. And I predicted the way it was going to be won. So,
yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in once again with us. And we're looking forward to seeing you next week on another episode of The Move.
See you next week.